Hi. The weather is beautiful today. Not to start this off in a typical British way, but the weather is just gorgeous. It's a little cold, a few degrees warmer, wouldn't hurt, but the sun is shining, there is blue sky, and I love it. It's so exciting. It means that hopefully we're now getting into a warmer season, but it does mean the lighting, this video is going to be interesting. Hopefully we'll do okay. I thought about making this video on Monday, but I kind of felt like I needed a bit of time to process some information, so I didn't. It's now Friday, and I'm going to talk about something to do with being pregnant and going through birth trauma with my previous labour. So I had a kind of a rough time, which I've spoken about in a previous video, and so I got in touch with a friend of mine who used to live in our road and has sort of in the last 6 months moved still within walking distance but a little bit further away, and she is amazing. First of all, she's one of the calmest people I've ever met, and given the last 6 months that she's had, that's astonishing. They've had a really, really stressful moving of house and lots of things have gone wrong, but she still has this sort of inner calm that I envy. I wish I had that kind of energy. She has this ability to make you just do that. I don't know. She's like magic. Her name's Sakina. I'm going to put a link to her business below because I think it's a really important thing that she does. She is part of a Tranquil birth movement, which is not necessarily about having a birth that is quiet, which is what Tranquil might suggest, but having a birth that isn't traumatic, I think is the best way to describe it. It's about it being very calm and for you to feel in control and for you to come away from the birth experience feeling good about what happened, not just happy that you have a baby, but actually feeling good about the whole experience. And I'm not going to tell her story for her, but she's got 2 children of her own. One birth was traumatic, one wasn't. Her second birth she had at her home. I think it might have even been a water birth. I'm not 100% sure on that one. And so she's had experience. She understands where women are coming from when they talk about traumatic birth, and she understands the impact of that, the long-term impact of that. Because even, I would say that I'm in a fairly strong position right now. I'm feeling pretty good about things, and for the most part, I feel quite in control of my emotions. But I think it's going to affect me for a long time. I don't think I'm ever going to be completely over it. I think it's something that I'm going to have to sort of every so often reprocess and go through it again and try and figure out how I feel now. So anyway, she came over on Monday after we dropped the kids off at school. Eloise was still around because she didn't go to school yet, but we dropped her kids off and Rufus, and we went and she came here, had a cup of tea, and we just sort of discussed how I was feeling and kind of my experience. I told her a lot about it before, but we sort of spoke about it in a bit more detail. And I also told her about some other experiences I'd had in my life as well that could be considered traumatic. And I've always known that for me, control is a big issue. I like to be in control. I struggle when I'm not in control. I don't think that that's actually particularly rare. I think a lot of people feel that way. And unfortunately, I've had enough moments in my life where I have been completely out of control that I am now quite anxious about that. And I know that the only way that I can get through the birth of this baby is if I have as much control as possible. Of course, you don't have a huge amount of control. Essentially, your body will do what it will do and the baby will come the way that it comes. But there are steps you can take to help you with your control levels. So, for example, deciding how and where you're going to give birth. And I know that I want to do it at home. I know that I want my kids nearby. I know that I would quite like my mum to be there this time, which she wants. It was her idea first, but I've actually really warmed to the idea because it will make me feel a bit safer to know that she's there with the kids, looking after them, sheltering them if needed. And then Nick can really stay by my side, which I think would be good too. I know that I would like gas and air. I know that I want the antibiotics for strep B because I'm not going to take the risk. I don't want intervention. I mean, if you have a home birth, you're not really supposed to have any interventions. As soon as it looks like you're going to need it, you have to go to hospital. I want to avoid that. I just want to be in control of it, and I want to be in control of the environment. And the thing about having it at home is that you can be in control of the environment. You can decide whether you have flowers or music or lots of blankets or you can completely sterilize the area and put have sort of a Dexter, I don't know if you've ever seen Dexter, but sort of a Dexter tent around you of saran wrap or cling film as we call it in this country. I don't know why I went American then. You can decide, you can design the environment yourself, which I think is a really great thing, and I would feel better like that, and it wouldn't be a sterile environment because I want to feel homely and I'm cozy and comfortable. So the cat would be wandering in and out, and Eloise probably will do a poo and a nappy if she's not potty trained by then. So there will be things like that going on while I'm giving birth, but I want that. I want to feel like it is just another thing that's happening in the home rather than sort of this thing that they hide you away in a hospital and they bring you back and you've got a baby, and it's like this weird exchange program thing where I'll leave my bump there and I'll bring my baby back. Like, no, I want it to be. I want it to be an event that actually happens. I don't want to hide it away. I think that's a big problem we have in this society. We hide the whole birth away. It's just a really weird thing. I mean, years ago, when I say years ago, 100 years ago, people, for the most part, gave birth in their homes, in their beds. The Queen gave birth to her children at home in her bed. She didn't go to a hospital. It's a relatively new idea of going to hospital, and obviously there are reasons for it, to improve mortality rates and things like that, and I completely understand. But it does seem strange that we don't talk about birth, we don't talk about the birthing process very openly. People sort of go, no, if it's not a beautiful birth story, and as soon as you start talking about placenta and waters breaking and mucus plugs, they all run and hide. But every single one of us was born, every single one of us came out of our mothers in that way. Those things happened to our mothers. Their mucus plug went at some point, their waters broke in some way, they either came out vaginally or they had a C-section. Everybody was birthed. And so this idea that we can't talk about it or that it's so disgusting and I think that all adds to this. I think it adds a lot to the potential for trauma. If you don't know what to expect, if you don't know what you're getting yourself in for, then how can you be prepared for it in any way? And I've had two very different births. I've had one that was not traumatic and was, as far as possible, really pleasant. I mean, they're never pleasant. It hurts a lot. It really does. And then I've had a birth that was horrible. And so I'm going into this birth with my eyes really wide open. And for the first time, I'm actually going to have to use quite a lot of my inner strength to stand up for myself and stand up for what I want and fight for what I want if anyone tries to tell me that I can't have it. And so that's why I was talking to Sakina, really. I was talking about how I would do that and how can I find the strength to do that, and how do I help myself to ensure that I get what I'm hoping for. And she does hypnobirthing, which I've thought about doing before. In both labours, I was very zen, I was very quiet. It just sort of seems to be how I cope with pain, in quite a quiet way. And I mean, I think my labour with Rufus, I'm not sure I spoke more than a few words. Once we got sort of midday, yeah, I spoke maybe 10 words between then and when he was born, which was over 12 hours later. So yeah, I wasn't chatty and I certainly wasn't screaming or anything like that. So I think in a way I kind of do my own version of hypnobirthing, but you know, there is actually a proper way that you can learn to hypnobirth, and Nick can be a part of that as well. So it's a way for him to be a bit more involved, which I think would be great, and it would help him to know that he could help me. So when I'm struggling in the birth, I'm struggling to stay focused and to stay calm, he can pull me back in, and I think I would really appreciate that. And I think he would really appreciate that too, because for him, all he wants is to look after me. And I think, you know, with what happened with Eloise, he felt like he couldn't look after me. And thankfully, he doesn't sort of carry around any guilt over that, but he does carry around some anxiety over it, because he doesn't want that to happen again. So I do think the hypnobirthing could be really good for us, and so Sakina's going to help us with that. But it was just really nice to talk to somebody who understood. There's no judgment with Sakina. She is just kind, very, very kind, and very, very, very much wanting to help and to make you feel better. And that's lovely. That's a really, really lovely thing, really lovely trait in her. And I'm hoping that later on in the series, when pregnancy gets a bit further along, maybe once we start doing some hypnobirthing lessons, maybe she can come on and do an interview on here, because I would love to get her on my channel, to get her some more exposure. As small as this channel is at the moment, I would love to get her some more exposure for her business. And also for anyone who is watching, to understand a little bit about what Tranquil birth movement is, and how hypnobirthing can help. And yeah, I think it would be great. It's been a really, really tough couple of weeks. It's strange how your emotions go when you're sort of fine 1 minute and then the next minute all hits you in one go. And I've been quite angry, and I've felt a lot of anger towards the doctors in the hospital. So yeah, it's been a tricky few weeks. But I'm starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. I do think the weather change makes a huge difference. And I feel like I've got some positive steps I can take now to help me feel better about this whole thing. Okay, well that's it for now. I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to start posting these videos soon about this, because we're getting close. I'm about to have my booking appointment, and I'm going to have my first scan in 2 weeks soon. So I am going to start posting soon. I have been waiting to do it until I've had the scan. My brother's getting married. I don't really want to take any attention away from him, so I don't know if I'm going to wait until they've had their wedding to put it up. We will see. But either way, soon this whole series is going to be going up. You'll be seeing this video and being like, yeah, I've already watched loads. But yeah, I'm feeling really positive about it. I'm really feeling like I've got some things to say, I've got some experiences to talk about, and I've got some really interesting people to talk to and bring on the channel as well. So you won't have to just keep listening to me rattle on about my own experiences. You can hear about others too, which I think would be great. Alright, so for now I'm going to say bye bye, and I will see you again soon.